Welcome. Thank you all for joining us today. We are recording this, so if you have team members that can't be here today, they can watch this recording later. We are so appreciative of your time as we dive into our own game plan for building game changers. When Greg McLaughlin first got here in 2019 as our new CEO, we really focused on some key activities. We reconnected with chapters and worked on strengthening the network. We worked on refreshing our brand, making it more modern and connected to today's young people. We embarked on refreshing our curriculum to make it feel more relevant and accessible for kids today. We took a look at our risk, assessing it and better managing that, and re-emphasizing that youth safety is really #1 priority at First Tee. We also reinvigorated our college scholarship program. To this day, these have been our guiding principles. However, the time came for us to really solidify these activities with a strategy and some tactics, providing us with a framework to guide our decision-making. As you know, strategic planning is one of the most important things that we all do. Are we clear about the impact that we want to achieve? Which results are we going to hold ourselves accountable for? Our senior leadership team embarked on a journey and series of workshops along with some conversations over the past 9 months. It was known as Achieving Strategic Clarity. The intent was threefold. First of all, help us clarify our focus. Second, how do we better articulate our own intended impact? And then third, how do we bring those results to life? These are important to all of us at First Tee. Today's webinar is really to share this overview, our game plan, prior to gathering at Network Summit, and get you guys excited for and thinking about the next 25 years at First Tee. We will be able to take some questions at the end of the call today, so please go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We'll answer others individually or at Network Summit. So how are we going to articulate our game plan? At the most basic level, First Tee headquarters, through you guys, our chapters, seeks to reach all kids with an emphasis on those that are underserved and underrepresented, along with 10 to 14-year-olds, and provide quality experiences that lead to high impact programs and ultimately get kids prepared for life. What makes the First Tee different from other golf or youth organizations? We call this our key differentiator. Through you, our chapters, coaches seamlessly integrate with golf, character building curricula, create fun, active learning experiences that build inner strength, confidence, and resilience that kids bring to everything that they do. But how do we define that or quantify it? Jen is going to share a little bit more about what we see as First Tee's intended impact. Jen?
Thank you, Shauna, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I am really excited to share with you our intended impact statement. It's going to talk about who we work with, what we do, and what we hope to accomplish. And as I walk you through it, keep in mind that this is headquarters plan, how we plan to support you in the great work that you're doing. And through this intended impact statement, we're going to create a 3-year strategic plan that will run from 2023 to 2025. So let's get to it. Who we work with. Clearly, our most important stakeholders are you, our chapters. So we spent some time thinking about the kids that we reach at First Tee. And we decided to place an emphasis on 2 groups, those ages 10 to 14, and also underserved communities. So why 10 to 14? In 2019, Bridgespan, as you'll remember, did a really deep dive into our curriculum. And they recommended to us that our greatest impact could be on those kids in grades 4 through 8. So these are the times when they're going through really important transitions, right? From elementary school to middle school and from middle school to high school. And this is the time when character education and character development are really important. So we know that middle school can be a really difficult time, and childhood development experts actually have identified 4 key challenges that middle schoolers face. I'm going to go through them quickly. The first is that families and teachers, without meaning to typically, pressure kids. They make them feel nervous about their future and future success. At First Tee, kids can come to a really stress-free environment and really learn how they can be the best versions of themselves, surrounded by caring coaches and adult mentors. The second challenge that kids face in middle school is having low self-confidence. And of course, we know at First Tee, we are building a positive self-identity for kids. We're strengthening their self-confidence, building game changers who believe in themselves and believe in their potential. The third challenge that kids in middle schools face is bullying, drama, cliques. So at First Tee, we teach kids to collaborate with others, respect one another, and welcome kids to come as they are. And finally, the last challenge that kids in middle schools face is peer pressure. So at First Tee, we build a positive mindset and we teach kids to use good judgment. So when faced with peer pressure, they make the right choices. So another thing that's going on during these middle school years, it's really two things. Dropping out of sport altogether. So for kids that say sports are not for me, and that happens typically around age 11. And the other thing, sort of on the opposite end, is sports specialization. So again, around the same age, kids are deciding to specialize in one sport. So we think this gives chapters chances to create opportunities for specialization in First Tee for those that are around age 12 or 13. So one more thing I want to mention about this middle school age. We have traditionally had the First Tee school program in grades K through 5 for years. And recently we moved the school program into the middle school space for all the reasons that I just mentioned. So if you're interested in learning more about bringing First Tee to middle schools in your community, please feel free to reach out to my colleagues, Matt and Rachel. So now we're going to move from who we work with to what we do. And at headquarters, we bucketed our work into 4 areas. The first of which is supporting you in the incredible work that you do to provide high quality programs to youth. So let me give you an example of something that we're going to do in this area. So those of you who've been in the network for a long time may remember that we did longitudinal research with a professor named Dr. Maureen Weiss at the University of Minnesota several years ago. We'd like to do new academic research over the next couple of years. So first, we're going to let our chapters transition to the refreshed curriculum using the age-based model rather than skill-based. And then we will work to research the impact that our programs are having. Second area of work is strengthening chapter leadership. So all the adults at our chapters, board members, chapter staff, coaches. So an example of the work that we'll do in this area will be to strengthen the onboarding for adults to First Tee, and also bring back something that we used to call First Tee University, creating these continuous learning pathways for adults at all of our chapters. The third area of our work is providing opportunities for kids outside of chapter programs. So some obvious examples here would be our national participant opportunities, our robust college scholarship program, and our new growing alumni network. And the last area of our work is maintaining a strong national brand and a strong network. So what does this entail? You know, keeping a consistent brand and building awareness for First Tee and our mission outside of golf, and of course inside golf as well. This should help all of us be able to raise more money, attract new adults to First Tee who want to give back to their communities through our programs, and ultimately serve more youth. Another thing that we'll be doing in this area is mitigating and planning for risks, which could really damage our brand and our network. So if we do all of this work really well, what do we think the outcomes will be? To what will we hold ourselves accountable? What will we measure? So the first area is that young people are empowered with strong character and life skills critical for success. And how will we measure this? Through that academic research that I just mentioned a moment ago. The second area is that chapters will provide high quality programs with consistency across the network. So how will we measure this? We will conduct in-person program observations at your chapters. The third area that we'll hold ourselves accountable to is that chapters serve a diverse and growing population in their communities with a focus on underserved. So how will we measure this? There are two ways: data that's in Salesforce, but also a new tool that we're calling the socioeconomic dashboard that we'll be rolling out to chapters soon. And the final area of impact is that chapters will increase progression and program retention. So how will we measure this? Again, Salesforce data, and also through a new gamification and badging strategy, which you'll hear more about in just a couple of minutes. So if we achieve all of these outcomes, what do we think the ultimate social goals will be? These are the things that we really feel like is the true impact of First Tee in your community. So I'll let you read through these, and we will of course post this on the intranet along with the recording from this webinar. But I want to call special attention to one area. And it's our belief that chapters will become important institutions in their communities, places where kids feel safe, where parents want to bring their kids, where diverse adults from across the community want to get involved in your programs. That's a really exciting ultimate social goal. And we know that's already happening in so many places across the network. And we thank you for creating that kind of environment at your chapters. So, as I mentioned, we are going to be building a strategic plan using this intended impact statement, and we'll put metrics and tactics to everything that we do so we know if we've accomplished it. And to bring to life one of those tactics, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Ryan Graff and Kristen Westberg, to talk about the Digital Yardage Book. See you in a few weeks.
Thank you, Jen. As Jen referenced, we're excited to launch the digital version of a yardage book through an app next year. The purpose of the Digital Yardage Book is to supplement learning outside of class time. It's very important to understand that this is not intended for a screen to come between a coach and a participant, but to enhance participants' learning between classes and outside of class time. Many kids are on screens away from the First Tee, and we want to provide a positive learning experience for them to engage with First Tee programs when they are on their devices. In addition, we understand the digital divide exists among kids, and so First Tee will continue to offer print materials available for participants who do not have access to digital devices. These supplemental printable activity sheets are currently available on the chapter intranet. In addition, we will explore opportunities and partnerships for chapters to provide devices at program locations so all kids can access the digital version. At the Network Summit, we will feature a digital drop zone where attendees can demo and experience the Digital Yardage Book, as well as other digital experiences, including an enhanced parent registration portal, a class management app for coaches, as well as Canva, which some of chapters are already using currently. I've asked my colleague, Kristen Westberg, to join us today and share more about the Digital Yardage Book.
Thank you, Ryan. So we're really excited about the evolution of our curriculum and getting these new enhancements to all of you as you are working to provide these really high quality programs to our participants each and every day. The content in the Digital Yardage Book, as it is in our refreshed curriculum, is age-based, and lessons and modules have been appropriately and developmentally designed for each of our age levels, aligning with the lessons in our refreshed curriculum. You'll see that the Digital Yardage Book features animated characters that grow and mature with the participants as they age through our program. Animated features and activities help to teach life skills and golf skills in exciting and engaging ways. And we're really excited for our participants to engage with the digital content and features. We really think that the Digital Yardage Book will help to reinforce the concepts and skills that are being taught in class. It is meant to be supplemental, though. It's meant to reinforce key commitments and golf skills. And similar to how existing paper yardage books have always been used, it allows participants to engage with the content in new ways that will help them retain what they're learning and apply what they are learning both at and away from First Tee. We know that kids today are using devices, so the Digital Yardage Book is going to meet them where they are. utilizing familiar technology, and giving them an access point to all that they are learning at First Tee, even when they're not at a chapter or on the course. As Ryan mentioned, you're going to have an opportunity at Network Summit in our digital drop zone where you can demo the Digital Yardage Book modules and get a sneak peek at how the participant content is coming to life. So make sure you stop by and see us. In addition, the content will help to reward engagement and the completion of activities through badges and gamification. So to share a little bit more with you about that, I'm going to hand it back over to Ryan to give you an update on where we are in developing that process.
Thank you, Kristen. So in addition to the Digital Yardage Book, First Tee will transition from certification to gamification and badging. As an example, knowledge challenges are incorporated within the app for participants to check their golf and life skills knowledge. Participants will receive digital badges for completion of digital lessons, as well as successful knowledge challenges. In addition, in the mid-year survey, you told us, 88% of the chapters told us they would like First Tee to continue to offer a bag tag for participants, which will connect to the overall badging strategy. Digital badges and bag tags are the start of a multi-phase gamification approach, which will deepen participant engagement in their golf and life skill development. This is just a glimpse into our overall strategy to providing high impact programs for participants. To reiterate what Jen shared with us earlier, First Tee will have a stronger focus on serving ages 10 to 14 and socioeconomic disadvantaged participants. Also, a goal of achieving greater than 50% ethnic diversity among participants, and continue to roll out digital enhancements for our participants and coaches. And lastly, we will research program impact as soon as 2025. We look forward to seeing you and sharing more at the Network Summit. And to share more with us about the Network Summit, please welcome my colleague, Rob Neal, and our Director of Chapter Relationships team.
Thank you, Brian. As we mentioned, as Shauna mentioned earlier in the presentation today, the goal here today is to provide some clarity on headquarters strategic planning process and to share updates on some of the key projects we've got going on, really in hopes of making your experience at the Network Summit as productive and enjoyable as possible. We now have the team of DCRs here to join us to respond to some of the questions you've submitted in the chat. I encourage you to continue submitting questions as we go. If your questions aren't addressed today, we'll get back to you after the webinar. Or if you come up with more questions, please contact your DCR. The first question, I guess the first 100 questions in this chat were about the presentation and how difficult it was to see. So we do apologize for the technical difficulties there. We'll make this entire presentation available to you, the slides, shortly after this presentation, and we'll post them on the intranet so everybody can have access and see the quality content in there and get a better glimpse at those Digital Yardage Book snapshots. And the details, I think, are worth your review on the slides that Jen had covered earlier. So with that, we'll go to our first question. And I think, Lexi, you can state the question and provide an answer. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Rob. So our friend in Tennessee, Kathleen, asked about the chapter program observations and how those will be going. We are still working on the full plan for how that's going to be implemented, but we will have a team here at HQ that will figure out a strategy to get to all the chapters, or a handful of chapters, I should say, to make sure we're observing and recording the data we need to. So we're very excited about that process, and we'll keep you informed as more details come to light.
Thank you, Lexi. Tom, you've got a question.
Yes, this one's from Pam Boccaccio in Jersey Shore. Will there be a communications tool in the new Coach app? Hi, Pam. We know it's a big need, and it is something that we're working on some potential solutions for our future.
Thank you, Tom. And you'll learn a little bit more of these sorts of things at the Network Summit, but we do appreciate that, and it is on our radar. Tiffany, you've got one.
Yes, this one's coming in from Paul Plugmeyer. He's asking, will ethnic diversity numbers no longer be based on demographics of the service area? Diversity numbers will be based on service area demographics in conjunction, but led by zip codes. Once the tool is released, we do encourage you all to reach out with questions. We can provide more insight once you've got a glimpse of the tool.
Thank you, Tiffany. And I'll add a little bit to that as well. When we talk about benchmarking and diversity numbers in relation to that, it is the same census-based data specific to your service area and a comparison of your participant numbers to that census data. The diversity tool that we'll be introducing here very soon in the next week or two, you'll be getting some information from your DCR on a socioeconomic based tool to let you identify which zip codes have the highest population of people in poverty and other economic information like that. It also shows diversity, but it's based on zip codes, which don't exactly match your service areas, which are typically done by counties. But it's a really interesting tool, and I think can really help you as you develop your strategy on reaching those underserved markets. So that won't be necessarily the benchmarking number or the CPA number. That will remain as it has been in the past, but this is another tool I think you'll find pretty fascinating as you dig into it. Lexi, I think you've got another one.
Thanks, Rob. Our friend Trent in Wichita asked about how much content will be provided to each participant in the Digital Yardage Book. As an example, if they're 7 years old and work through everything, are they stuck with that content till they're 10? Short answer is no. So we have taken a look at the core lessons associated with each age group and have developed content for each age within the age group. So every year a participant ages up, even if they're still in that 7 to 9 class in person, when they turn 8, they'll get a batch of new content in the Digital Yardage Book, same when they turn 9. And we will continue to iterate and bring the content to life in new ways as years go on. But the initial rollout will include a lot of variety for those kids that are in the age groups for a couple of years at a time.
Excellent, thank you. And then Tara Kelly, I think you were asking maybe a similar question, and we're wondering if maybe in the chat you can clarify a little bit more about your question so we can address it specifically. In the meantime, Carlton, can you handle one?
Thanks, Rob. Blake asked, do we have a timeline for when we'll have full access to the Digital Yardage Book? Great question. And we're going to have a lot more to share about the Digital Yardage Book in general at Network Summit next month, including updates on the timeline.
Excellent, thank you. Mike, can you take one for us?
Absolutely. Matt asked the question, should we still plan on using paper yardage books, or the digital yardage books meant to replace them completely? Yeah, the paper versions will still be available for print if you need it, but the digital yardage books will be phenomenal having those going forward.
Thank you. I'm gonna go to Lexi again. We're working Lexi too hard, and we're hearing complaints, Lexi. We can't hear you, so speak up, please.
Got it. I'll put my coach voice on. Hopefully everybody can hear me. So Janae in Atlanta asked, can you share specific insight on the type of badges participants will be working to earn? So examples, insights. So there will be a variety of badges. We're still working through the full gamification strategy, which we're hoping to unveil a lot more about that badging specifically at the Network Summit. But it will be big picture, a combination of digital completion type of badges for participants that work through modules and knowledge challenges within the Digital Yardage Book independently in that supplemental format that Kristen mentioned to the in-person classes. And then we are aiming to have in-person badging opportunities. Again, more details to come at Network Summit. So we're excited to share those once they've been fully fleshed out.
Thank you. Tom, can you answer Kayla's question, please?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Rob. Kayla Deegan over in, I believe, Central Valley asked, what should the chapter leadership team, the executive director, program director, board members, et cetera, expect to bring back to chapter staff and coaches back home? And I'm assuming that's in regard to the content we'll be delivering at the Network Summit. And so we'll have a lot of information so you and your team could really figure out how to best roll this out at your chapter. I think how to communicate it with your parents as well as with the participants and stakeholders involved in your chapter. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to be able to share best practices or ideas that you have with other chapters as well.
Thank you. And Carlton, can you address Bob's question?
Sure, Rob, thanks. So Bob Norris asked, what specific programs to help us with retention for 11-year-olds and older outside of the Digital Yardage Book? Well, we're all in this together. So we'll rely on ideas here at HQ, but also rely on all of you to help us with that. We know, for example, that social engagement and advancing skill development are keys to this, but we'll continue to share, gather best practices to make sure that our programming matches our goals of emphasizing 10 to 14-year-olds. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, Bob Norris has another question. Can you go for that one?
Absolutely. Hey, Bob, I had a great time at your event last Friday. Yeah, what kind of ideas and to strengthen relationships with parents of our participants was the question that Bob asked, and what ideas might you have to help build and strengthen relationships? This should be a part of the strategery. I love that word, to support the chapters. But yeah, there's a lot of cool ideas that are out there that I've seen chapters do, whether it's a parent orientation day or getting parents involved in some of the events, the community service events or the fundraiser events. Really great way to build relationships. Bob, I will try to create and I'll try to send you some samples of best practices in that area.
Thank you, Mike. So Evan Johnson's got a question about the paper yardage books. Will they be new and age-based or the current ones with the level names? And so Kristen, I think, answered in the chat earlier that essentially the existing printed yardage books don't correlate with the refreshed curriculum. So you'll need the new printable activities to utilize the new digital yardage book. The existing paper yardage books won't be available in 2023 and beyond. So hopefully you can take advantage of the new updated printed ones with the new activities included. So Tiffany, do you have something to respond to Autumn's question with?
Yes, Autumn, great question. Autumn is asking regards to technology for participants, how are they using their own phones or devices, and do chapters need to plan on technology associated with each program? And so yes, participants can use any mobile device, tablet, or laptop, anything with an internet connection. And yes, chapters can most definitely provide access to technology for those students who don't have their own devices. And then you're more than welcome to supplement with the print materials that are already available on the internet.
Thank you, Tiffany. Lexi, can you answer Matt's question, please?
Sure. So Matt asked, will we be able to add badges or content to the digital yardage book that is specific to our chapter? I think that we have talked about this a lot in the planning strategy around badges. I'll say cautiously, it's not off the table, but we will continue to evaluate what's going to be the best experience for all kids in the network, since it'll be a universally available platform. So stay tuned. It's definitely keep bringing it up, but we will hopefully be able to share more as we think about the vision for badging for the next couple of years.
Thank you, Lexi. Logan Long asks about where can we find the new printable yardage books on the internet, and the answer, which may have been answered in the chat, but these will come out after the release of the digital yardage book. So it's going to be a package deal there. Carlton, can you answer a question, please?
Sure. The question is about, is there a tech partner lined up to help provide iPads or other devices for coaches and chapters? And will there be grants available to assist with these purchases from our friend Ed on the coast of the Carolinas? Ed, we're working on that. Our advancement team and partnership team is actively working on that, but we don't have anything in place yet or can't make any promises on that. In the meantime, we would encourage all of you, if you have local sources or local partners that you could think could help with that in the short term, go ahead and pursue those options, but we will continue to work on that at a national scale.
Yeah, thank you, Carlton. And there are active conversations ongoing with some potential larger partners in that area. So thank you. So Tara, I think you clarified your question a little bit using the word clarify. Can you clarify the strategy to focus on 10 plus? Most of our kids are age 7, 8, 9, and 10. And yes, that's a good question. One of the reasons I think that we're putting into our strategic blueprint the emphasis on 10 to 14 is that naturally most of our chapters have been very successful in that 7 to 10 age group, even 11 and 12, but difficulty retaining or attracting kids in those older ages. So the idea here is not to make an immediate U-turn in your strategy, but to take a multi-year approach. We've got the curriculum now that can accommodate these kids, I think, a little bit more easily if they're coming into the program at an older age. And hopefully we'll be able to develop some programs in conjunction with each of the chapters out there to keep kids engaged longer and into those years of 10 to 14. So the idea is to have chapters keep it front of mind that we're trying to keep kids in those age groups because the impact of the character development, life skills offerings of the First T curriculum can really make the future of those kids' lives much more successful. So hope that answers your question. It's a long game, not a short game. Tom, can you address Katie's question, please?
Yes, I'm happy to. So Katie McKelvey asked, will the app cost money? The simple answer is not to the kids. We'll have some very incremental access costs that will be rolled out into your tech plan at the chapter level. And we'll have some more information coming in the future about what that will entail.
Thank you. Tiffany, you got a question from Bob.
Yes, Bob Talbot is asking, will a current participant's levels be transferable with the badge system, or will accomplishments be gone to date? And so we are working on transferring it over. No promises right now, but more details will come. And we're getting feedback from a team of chapter reps that are really helping assist with that strategy.
Thank you, Tiffany. Lexi, can you handle David Cohn's question, please?
Handle David Cohn. That's a tough bid, but I will try. So David asked, is the content web-based and not app-based? It's both, if you will. There's a URL you can access the platform that kids can go just on a web browser on anything connected to the internet and access the content and complete lessons and knowledge challenges. But there will also be an app that'll be available in both iOS and Android that will be downloadable to a device to be able to access the same content, but mobilely. I don't know if that's a word, but on your mobile device. So I guess, yes, it's both web access and app access.
Mike Blackwell, can you take a look at Derek Clemenson's question for us, please?
Yeah, Derek asks, will First EHQ reach out to school districts to get the app and the website approved so youth can access them on their device? You know, the digital yardage books meant to supplement in-person programming will work for you, for y'all. Not promising that, you know, but something for us to look at for sure. Thanks, Derek.
Thank you, Mike. Carlton, how about a question for you there?
Thanks, Rob. Yes, the question is, can you elaborate on the new coaching levels, please? Absolutely. So there's a link on the internet, and we can post that link in the chat. There is a new pathway, and along with next year's training schedule, that will start the new coach training program.
Excellent, thank you. And let's see, what else do we have here? So Heather Rupp is asking, can you clarify something that was previously said for the kids who will be in the age group 7 to 9 for a long while? Is there lessons specific for their age, or will new things be added? That's a good and fair question, particularly for that 7 to 9. That's kind of the longest spread of ages we've got. And the answer is we're going to continue supplementing the activities for engagement. We've got large classes and small classes of that particular age group, and we don't want kids having exact same activities through that entire age period for them. So our team will be supplementing the curriculum with more and more activities as we go on, keep them engaged. Tom, there's a question from Hannah, please.
Yes, this is from Hannah House. Will there be a way for coaches and chapter staff to access participant results within the app so they can know if a certain curriculum is not covered? And so the biggest thing is that the Digital Yardage Book is to supplement in-person programming. It's not to replace in-person programming. These are things that young people should be increasing their knowledge or increasing their depth of knowledge on specific topics. And so there will be parts that young people will be assessed upon, and that should be a great way that internally your organization or your chapter continues to look at the success of the delivery of the program from that regard.
Thank you, Tom. How about Tiffany? Can you answer Michael's question?
Yes. Mike is asking, he knows we're giving a better sense of timeline for the Digital Yardage Book and the Coaches app for the Network Summit, but should coaches be prepared to use this with their spring programming? Short answer is there was a class at Network Summit, and more details will be coming soon from the programming team about implementation over the next year.
Thank you. And Lexi, can you take a look at Leslie's question for us?
Sure. So Leslie asked, will the Digital Yardage Book progression be directly related to the participant's Salesforce account so coaches and staff can see the progression on the back end? That is $1 million question, Leslie. Thank you for asking it. I think ultimately that is the goal. We are working right now through our Docebo learning platform that currently our coaches are using to access content. That will be the same platform that participants will be using. So we are working with our technology experts internally and externally to figure out how to make that happen. So Salesforce is the source of records. So stay tuned on how that's going to progress. But the content itself will live in that learning management system, similar to how our coaches access that content.
Thank you. And we've got a question from Charles. Will level 2 and level 3 certified coaches need to start the certification process again? It very politely says thank you at the end. So we appreciate your kindness there. No, level 2 and level 3 certified coaches do not need to get retrained. I think we emphasize that the fundamentals of first tee coaching remain the same, the building blocks. But those coaches who are currently at level 1, which is formerly player level 2 or level 3 stay where they are. We'll have some web-based optional trainings later next year to go over changes and age group specific information. And Allie and the team at the programs team will be posting that stuff soon. I think one other thing to note, I think there is a request that in the next couple of years that level 4 coaches who are training those level 1 coaches locally re-engage with that level 4 training so that they're better equipped to do those local trainings for level 1, the former player level coaches. So Tiffany, can you answer Trent's question, please?
Trent Jones would like to know, should we prepare for 2023 for a budget increase in technology fees? And there will be more coming in FYI soon regarding technology fees. There will be some increased costs in 2023, but that also comes with more options for Salesforce licenses. So chapters will be able to better select the licenses that suit their individual needs.
Thank you, Tiffany. And let's see. So Tara is asking, will there be a way for chapter team members who can't attend the network meeting to access the things that will be available in the zone on site in Dallas? A way for them to demo or see the new app if they won't be on site? That is a good question. And I think we haven't made a plan that I'm aware of right now. I think it is something that we should address. The best way for us to do that might be through a webinar type of presentation. The beauty of the drop zone, the digital drop zone, is you can actually hold the devices and play around and get a feel for how the software works with the hardware, and the look of the graphics in some of these things. So we'll find some way to do a video highlighting that same, the look and feel of the digital yardage book and make it available for everybody on the intranet. And we'll probably do that shortly after the network summit. Carlton, can you answer Craig's question, please?
Yes, Craig asked us about where do improvement in golf skills fall into the various age groups? Will they have online class? Will the online classes contain golf lessons and drills? Again, so the digital yardage book is supplemental to the in-person instructional experience for the kids. Where we see golf skill improvement and incentive for that is in the badging system when that comes fully online. So we will have life skills, character-based badging, as well as skill development badging.
Excellent, thank you. And it's kind of a tricky question for us coming in from John Page. So Lexi, you get to answer that one.
Great. John, thanks for the question about accessing the app on the admin side. That is another $1 million question. So we have a lot of options with the platform that we're using. To be honest, I think we're going to rely on some feedback from some initial pilot chapters to see what really is going to be the best structure for visibility, for lack of a better term, into other users within that platform, whether it's kids or coaches or other chapter leaders. So stay tuned as we sort of continue to build out the framework. We might ask a handful of you for your opinion and figure out what's going to work and be the best solution to make it easy to use, but also functional for what you need on your day-to-day interactions with the kids.
Thank you, Lexi. Tara comes in with a question about when will the budget information for tech be available? We are in a calendar budget year, so starting budget planning very soon. A good, again, question from Tara. Thank you for asking. I think the first thing to remember is that the technology is really supplemental to the standard, the primary first tee program. So there is a little bit of a chapter-based decision on when to fully engage with the digital and the technology offerings to your participants. So there's no absolute rush to get that out if you're prepared to continue with the more personal, non-tech oriented thing. I think as time goes on, with the tech tools available, every chapter is going to see the value in doing that. In the meantime, we will begin to develop maybe some projected budgets for technology and implementation. Again, it depends on the number of kids you've got, the type of program locations, and maybe your own strategy on how to handle technology with the kids. As you learn more about the digital yardage book and the other opportunities out there. So it may vary from chapter to chapter, but I think it is fair to start planning for some basic needs. And we'll be working on that and share that with you as soon as we can. Tiffany, we have a question from Terry.
Yeah, the question is, do level 1 trainers continue what they're doing until further notice? So as you finish out this year, yes, it's business as usual, but the programs team will have a series of webinars beginning next year to assist in that. And as always, feel free to reach out to anyone at headquarters for assistance.
Excellent. Thank you, Tiffany. And I want to call out John Page, who thanked us and then gave us an extra thank you and John, I'd like to give you another thank you for all of your thank yous. So fantastic. Ed is noting, please keep hotspots in mind for tech needs, as many sites do not have Wi-Fi. That's an excellent point and an option that could work well for a number of folks. We're going to continue pushing for partnerships, for access to internet, particularly in the underserved communities. Like we recognize clearly that here we are trying to keep underserved communities, looking at socioeconomic, zip code tools for you guys to reach those parts of your community, and that those technology challenges are going to be the greatest in those areas. And so we are talking to different types of partners. There are regional, local, and national organizations that are trying to improve connectivity, access to internet, whether it's based on cell service or wired access. And hopefully some of these will emerge. They may not be national, but they may come out regionally at the same time that we're working on the actual hardware. So we'll do that. Now, Evan, I'm just going to keep going. So Evan Johnson asked about technology grant for Wi-Fi and hotspots. What you'll see coming up, I think, we've seen some DE&I grant programs offered through headquarters from different partners of ours, even some from headquarters directly. We're continuing, I think, to develop more of those. And as we do, I think it would be very useful for chapters who are applying for grants in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space to include technology, Wi-Fi hotspots as potential uses of those grant funds. So I think that's one way to tackle it, and it's a good idea. So we are wrapping up with our questions. We appreciate everybody's interest in today's webinar, and we are really getting excited about the Network Summit that's coming up super fast. Remembering that it's our 25th anniversary, great opportunity to celebrate. It's our first full network gathering since 2017. And for me personally, it'll be my first opportunity to see the whole network in one place. And I'm very excited about that. I know the rest of our DCR team is excited, and we have asked them each to share what it is that most excites them about the Network Summit coming up. And we'll start with Tom.
Thanks, Rob. I'm excited to catch up with a lot of people, but I'm also super excited about having the self-proclaimed Dear Abby of the nonprofit sector, Joan Gary, who will be providing some valuable leadership education in our breakouts, as well as inspiring us all in a keynote speech. What about you, Lexi?
Along the same lines, speaking of speakers, I'm very anxious and excited to see how our education sessions come to life. I think we have a slate of some amazing outside experts like Athlete Ally and Big Thought Institute and Allie Sterling that are going to bring some really different and unique perspectives that we haven't had at previous meetings. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing those. Carlton?
Thanks, Lexi. So as the newest member of the DCR team, I'm especially excited to attend my first Network Summit this year. And interesting enough, more than half of the total attendees will also be new. So I'll have lots of new faces to get to know. I look forward to learning, growing, and building meaningful relationships really across the entire First Tee Network family. And I'll send it over to Mike.
Hi, everybody. I'm so looking forward to seeing everyone at our 25th anniversary Network Summit in Big D. This will be my 9th Network Summit. I don't know about you, but I barely sleep at these functions. Last time we were in Dallas, President Bush was there to kick off the golf tournament. It was fantastic. Prior to working for HQ, our team at my chapter was super promoters of getting as many of our board members and leadership to the Network Summit. Get them there, get them excited, get them pumped up, because that's your leadership. And I would definitely encourage you guys to do that. I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany.
Thanks, Mike. Speaking of leaders, I am most excited to work with chapter leaders and the new ED orientation and really helping them build out their go-to team again, since this is their first time gathering since 2017. So with that, I want to say on behalf of our team here at headquarters, thank everyone for attending today. We know your schedules are extremely busy, so we appreciate you taking the time out to spend with us. If we didn't get to your questions, we will work to follow up with you all. Feel free to continue to reach out to your DCRs, and do not forget to register for Network Summit. Prices increase November 1st, so get those registrations in now. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.